This week, I'm going to give you a quick PSA. As a tiny business owner, sometimes we struggle a little bit with charging more than what we think we would pay. That's a great reminder that you are not always your ideal customer. But the reality is that, one, if you play the price game, you're probably not going to win. In fact, that's been proven. You, as a tiny business owner, never want to be the lowest in the market. There's actually a podcast episode on the Doers, Shakers, Makers podcast this week about fairly pricing your products and services and what pricing means, where you should fall in within the market and all of that. It's really having to do with branding, it's positioning. But besides having a price that means that you can stay in business and make a wonderful living to support yourself and continue on in business, and besides making sure that you're not undercutting yourself, I want to remind you that every year you have to raise your prices. It makes a lot of us, especially those of us that are really creative and that just feel the love of making things, makes us very uncomfortable to think about raising our prices. It makes us very uncomfortable to sometimes say that we are now charging more than what we ourselves would be able to afford to pay or things like that. Morally, that's wonderful. You should have your pricing in a way that you're not making people lose their homes in order to pay for you. That's another topic for another day. But the reality of it is that if you have put research into your pricing to get where you are, if you have put a little time into looking at your competitors at the fair market value and to make sure that you are in a good price range, then every year you do need to increase those prices. Unless you live completely unaware of what the news is and have not gone shopping or had electricity on in your home, you know that inflation is pretty aggressive right now in the United States. In January, it skyrocketed. So you, especially this year, need to make sure that your prices are being raised, because that means that you are bringing in an income that can hopefully keep up with inflation, if not beat it. If you worked for a corporation, every year you'd have a review and then you would get a raise. Hey, for some corporations, it could be a big jump. But for those of you that are in maybe like a public company or corporation like that, you'd still, as long as you were doing good work and doing your best, expect or hope for a 3 to 5% raise, right? The very least, you as a business owner should be increasing your prices by 3 to 5% every year. Now, that's the other thing. If you're doing a very small increase every year, your clients and customers won't even bat an eye. They'll just say, oh, that's great. But if you wait 10 years before you raise the prices on your services, you're then going to have to all of a sudden go in a big jump. You also psychologically are probably going to have become resentful of the work you're doing because you haven't had a raise in 10 years. There's a lot packed into raising your prices every year, but the very lowest level is inflation, especially this year, increases. You need to make sure that you are increasing your prices so that you still are making a good living wage. Nobody wants you to work for nothing. You need to make sure that you are thinking about the health of your business, which means how much you're taking in and how much you are able to make. If you've not raised your prices in a while, please consider doing that this year, because with inflation, your bills are becoming much more expensive to pay. Now, if you want to get into the regular habit of raising your prices, I have a Q1 birthday. My birthday is the end of March. So every year I have a reminder, raise your prices on your birthday. And so I do. And that's a good way of thumb. Setting a marker, St. Patrick's Day, every year I'm going to raise my prices. You could do it on the first of the year, but having that marker that you just know, oh, it's this day, it's time for me to raise the prices, may make it a little less weird for you to deal with if you do have a hard time with that. But please just remember, if you are working in a corporation, you would get a raise every year. If you are paying any bills right now in the United States, you are probably paying more than you were last year due to inflation. So make sure that you and what you are charging are not left behind and not making enough to continue to have a business. Fastest path to burnout is to start to feel taken advantage of and like you are not getting back what you are putting in. All right, that's my PSA for the week. Go raise those prices. I'm Sierra Bailey with Doers, Shakers, Makers, and each week I come at you with a Tuesday tip video. And hey, if you like what you hear, you probably love my book, Smarter Starting. It's available where all books are sold.